Alan, the D-Files is blowing up. The chapter 4 of the D-Files has emerged. It's let's get it right. It's the D-Files. So let's do that.
Yes, part 4.
Part 4, Slow Death in a Strange World. I'm going to bring it up on screen.
Yes, please do.
But so tell us a little, without reading it right now, tell us a little bit about what you go over in this chapter.
Yeah, well, per your advice, we decided to split this one up because this one was getting really long. But we covered basically everything that happened between Raya and the Last Dragon and Strange World, just leading up to Wish. And, it's one of these things where you watch what Disney has been doing and you say to yourself, hey, I think they're doing these things, or they're inserting these things in a subtle way. And we're here to show you that it was far from subtle. And in fact, it was all intentional. And that everything that had happened up until that point was the agenda was there all along, and it was openly talked about. And that's kind of what this current edition of the D-Files is. For example, in Raya and the Last Dragon, they completely radically shifted the original story. And in there, they were intentional about diminishing men. I can, let's see, let's just put it this way. In the article, I talk about how, when discussions of story, the role of a man would be brought up, and it was quickly pushed aside and said, no, we can't allow Raya and I forget the other girl's name. We can't allow men to assist them or help them or provide them comfort. They need to find their own strength from within or from within the other women in the group. And any time discussions of that were brought up in story meetings, it was shut down. That's what I wrote. I can tell you that part of the story is much worse. And unfortunately, I can't say a thing about it. But that's essentially what was happening.
You and I both saw Strange World in a theater. It opened Thanksgiving weekend.
No, actually, I was talking Raya. Strange World.
Right. Strange World. Okay, just to pivot to Strange World, you and I both saw it in a theater Thanksgiving weekend. I remember this specifically because I remember texting you and going like, I'm alone in a theater and there's like 4 or 5 other people. There was a family and like one other dude. And then I'm by myself sitting here. I'm going, this is a Disney movie opening on Thanksgiving weekend. Why am I in a nearly empty theater? I mean, it was like there were like 6-7 people in the screen.
Mine was worse. I was sitting there by myself, and then a grandfather and grandson sat right behind me, and the grandson talked the entire time. And I will tell you, thank God he was talking the entire time, or I would have gotten nuts.
You ever see a movie like that where you're like, I mean, look, I have a pretty strict policy of like, I hate when people talk during movies, except when it's a terrible movie. I don't mind.
Yeah.
God, it actually can kind of add to it, or like a horror film where people scream. But
so so let's back up to Raya just for a second.
Please.
It cost 120 to 150 million. So it didn't do well. I think critically it got like a 93% on Rotten Tomatoes, but I think after looking back at it and thinking it through, people are starting to turn a little bit on Raya. And the movie, it didn't do that well. And, I think Disney would chalk that up to COVID, because this was the first movie back in COVID. I remember wearing a mask, seeing the movie. And also it was part of the premium access plus that Disney was doing. So you could watch Raya on Disney Plus for an additional $30. And so,
that's right.
Yeah. And so if you look at the numbers, the first movie that Disney did that with was Mulan. And the result of Disney Access Plus was Mulan, Mandalorian, and I forgot the other one. There was another series that Disney Plus had. When those went out, they saw a rise in subscribers. When Raya and Last Dragon came out, there was no additional new subscribers, and it earned on the $30 premium to watch it at home. It earned 30% less than Mulan.
Really?
Yeah. And so this movie, it lost money.
And then I'm not surprised. so anyways, sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And then I'll just go. The next movie that Disney put out, Encanto, it cost 120 million to 150 million, and that did wildly well. And I'll tell you why it did well, because when John Lasseter was fired, Encanto was already halfway through the production, so the story was already locked. Lin-Manuel Miranda already had his songs, and most people say that Encanto, the reason Encanto is so great is because of Lin-Manuel Miranda's songs, and also a very a dynamic group of characters. And you can kind of see John Lasseter's influence. And I think when he left, Disney just left that project alone and said, "Look, it's already in good hands. The train is already rolling," and they brought it to completion. And that was a legit hit for Disney, which then brings us to Strange World. And with Strange World, this is the first movie where Jennifer Lee has her full fingerprints and hand in the story and the animation of this. And if you remember Strange World, which no one does because they didn't watch it,
Right.
Yeah, the Strange World is basically an allegory, an environmental allegory about the dangers of fossil fuels. If you were, I mean, you saw the movie,
Yeah, I know.
I'm right about that. But the other thing was, it was also the first occasion of an openly gay character in the movie doing openly gay things, meaning he had a crush on a boy, and a lot of the movie was about him trying to muster the courage to ask him out or to be his partner. And that's, it was that idea of, hey, let's not entertain kids anymore. Let's force a message upon them. And
Right.
so from a production standpoint, I told you Encanto and Raya cost about 120, 150 million. Strange World rose to 180 million. And then also opening weekend earned, I believe, 12 million. And in the end, Variety reported that Strange World lost $100 million total. Also, internationally, half of the countries didn't want Strange World because of the openly gay theme. And so this is the first time you'll see that the international box office was significantly lower than the domestic for a Disney project. International was like half the amount of domestic.
Is this one of those cases where, I mean, you talk about it in the article, but I'm just asking, I've read the article, obviously, and we'll put a link in the description of this, the clip in the episode, of course, but is this one of those cases where they didn't even open the movie in other countries, or did they radically change it? Someone even told me,
I mean, you can't get rid of the gay theme because it's so ingrained in the movie. It's at least, I mean, if you're just talking dialogue, you've got to think it's at least 5 to 10 minutes of dialogue, and it's intercut within the main story. And so it's not like it's not like they held back. It's just the countries wouldn't allow it to be shown in their countries.
That's what my question is. Yeah. So it's like, what countries were some of the countries? Someone just sent me
China for one.
Right, China, Saudi Arabia. But in fact, someone sent me the coolest weird tip about Microsoft products. If you want to sort of excise the wokeness, is you change the region to Saudi Arabia, but then you change the language to English, and all that stuff goes away. I know it's a weird pro tip. I just got an email about that. Yeah. I want to try that. That sounds really interesting.
I mean, it's hypocritical for one thing. I mean, honestly, if you're going to virtue signal and say that we're going to stand behind this, that's what was happening here. Is Jennifer Lee and crew, they stood behind these decisions. It says something about you if when you go international that you won't stand behind that decision for money, for purely money's sake. It just shows you that they, I don't know, it's sort of evil that they want to do it here just in America and then kowtow outside of America.
Well, there's a book that is coming out, or it may already be out, by Logan Lansing with James Lindsay, called The Queering of the American Mind: How a New School Religious Cult Poisons the Minds and Bodies of Normal Kids. I mean, straight up, a lot of what I saw in Strange World was propaganda. Not just, I mean, the character being gay, whatever. There've been gay characters in movies and whatnot, and even cartoons, whatever you think, like forever. That's not there's so many other agendas that are in Strange World. It was literally like let's throw in all the agendas and the kitchen sink, so it just becomes so solely like it's like entertainment was secondary to all the multiple agendas. Multiple agendas that are just woven into one movie. It's like they just threw it all in one, and then Wish is sort of like, I know you're not at, when it comes to the D-Files, you're not at Wish yet. You will be getting there.
Yeah.
But it's that's just everything. Anyways, I bring up that book because I see that it's getting a lot of traction online. And it kind of
look. I mean, yeah. I mean, you and I both have gay friends. I have
a lot of them actually.
Yeah, you know? and you know, it's not that, you know, what's wrong is having gay people in your movie. It's the fact that they have to go out of their way to prove that these characters are gay, and they would do things that I've never seen my friends do. For example, my friends, when I hang out with them, they're not constantly making out. You know, it's not like they need to prove that they're gay to me by kissing for some reason, and that's what they do here. You know, it's almost to the point of recruitment, as opposed to creating a truly dynamic, truly thought out gay character. And honestly, I don't even want straight characters to show off their sexuality in everything I see.
No, it's just that when the first thing about that character is their gayness, it's like that's an aspect of a person, but that's not the whole. That's not what the person is, and that just annoys me. It's like, especially when Disney does this stuff, they lean into stereotypes and they lean into pushing stuff instead of just have that person be a person first.
Yeah,
you know,
it's like yeah. No, I was gonna say, in Strange World, it's the character's name is Ethan, and it's not like they're saying, well, Ethan, he's a brave soul who's an awkward teen who loves his father and wants to know his grandfather. And hey, by the way, let me go and kiss this guy. You know, that's essentially what they're trying to do. Yeah, you know, it's that aspect of his life that you have to show off in a way that's unnatural to the story, or just brought into the story for no reason other than to exclaim that that's a part of who he is.
Well, congratulations again, Alan.
Yeah.
On chapter 4.
Let me tease the next one, because there was a narrative I've been putting out there about Wish that I've been putting out there for a very long time as to why it was bad. And this literally yesterday, several sources confirmed to me that I was completely wrong, and that what I thought was wrong about it, it's actually worse. So that'll be in the next Key Files.
What? When you say worse, you got to give me an example.
Oh, well, let's just say that you know, I personally had chalked up the low quality of Wish to the fact that the project was rushed, that it took that 6 to 7 months to be animated. While that was true, that wasn't the reason why Wish is the worst animated film of the entire Walt Disney 100-year legacy.
Wow. Okay. All right. Well,
I
can't wait.
Stay tuned.
What I don't like is that I feel like there is a sense of hopelessness amongst kids, and that's very sad for me to see. I've always been sort of an obnoxiously optimistic person, but with a measured reality in there. And what saddens me is seeing the rates of depression in kids. When I say kids, I mean teenagers for the most part, and how there's a sense of hopelessness. You know, college, you're not going to be able to afford it. You're not going to be able to afford a house. Your future, whatever the American dream was, you know, it doesn't matter. The earth, you know, all the climate change, it doesn't, nothing matters. Don't have kids. All the messaging that's going out to kids these days is damaging. And I think I don't like to think that way. I think that we are so amazing as a civilization that we can solve these problems. You know, I think it's kind of almost arrogant of man to think that we could have such an impact on the planet that we could destroy it. Planet's going to be fine with or without us. And I think that we have come so far as a society, as a species, that there are problems that will come our way and we will solve them if the right leadership is there to guide the way. I truly, truly believe that. I'm an eternal optimist. So the messaging to kids now is wrong. And I think that it is damaging ultimately. And I say this as a father to 2 kids. Alan, you're also a father.
Mm-hmm.
To it, you have an investment in the future of this planet.
Absolutely. But I want to go down the right path. I don't want to be spinning my wheels on something that's not going to make a difference in the world. And also, I hate the gaslighting that's going on in the subject. And you brought up leadership. We used to have leaders. We used to have people who inspired us. I was just listening to Bob Iger's comments. You guys were talking about it on the Nooner, and the first thought that in my mind was, how is Bob Iger a leader? I don't see. He doesn't talk about vision. He talks about things that he could do. He talks about plans that they might try to do. He seems to be speaking to what the current winds are saying, but he's not someone that you look forward to. When you look at the next 5 years of Disney, what do you see? You see nothing. You don't see anything optimistic. You don't see anything positive. You don't see anything worth investing your money in at the moment. And that's the fault of Iger, who can't inspire people to want to invest in this company.
It's just really sad. It's just really sad, the state of affairs where we are now. And I think that as a parent, you have to kind of ignore it. You almost have to just you have to be really, really, as a parent, you should always kind of filter the media that goes to kids in particular, but you have to be diligent now. And really look at what are the core messages of movies and television shows that you're exposing to your kids. Almost nothing modern is helpful.
Yeah. Well, the majority of parents have abdicated all that to the schools,
right?
to teach and raise their children.